Hey, true believers and fellow Disney files. Man, I used to love Disney. Seriously, I'm a huge Disney fan, man. I live right outside the doors. You know, it's I've gone many times a year, every year since 1972. Seriously, I love the parks, or at least I loved the parks before. I would have to say Bob Iger. In all honesty, I think. And you cannot convince me otherwise that Bob Iger isn't tanking Disney on purpose. I've said this. I will say this in every damn live stream. He is tanking Disney on purpose. I think somebody got to him and said, we want to buy Disney. It's now $52,000 million. But if you could get it down to $48,000 million, then we'll give you $1,000 million. You know, that kind of thing.
See, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's opportunism. I think it's just he's not good at it.
No, Iger.
He's just not good at being a CEO.
He's not a dumb person. So, anywho, on Twitter today, two things have popped off. The first one, by the way, is the fact that Gina Carano is now going to sue Lucasfilms for wrongful termination. And the one that we're mainly going to focus on today is Elon Musk posted something I think we've seen before. And it's kind of the rules on how employees have to act and react when it comes to, I believe, movie hiring. I've got it all separated. So we're going to, because it's in sections, we're going to go section to section and talk about it. But it's amazing to me, guys. I did read some of it. And it's like, oh, you've got to treat marginalized people differently. Well, why are you marginalizing these people? And by pointing out differences and such, aren't you marginalizing them? You know, just right out the gate, I hate this kind of talk. Because it's horseshit. Underrepresented since when? I mean, I've been around. I remember in the 1980s where the biggest freaking show in the world starred a very wealthy black family. Of course, the dad ended up being a rapist, but that's neither here nor there. In the 1980s,
well,
Bill Cosby was America's dad. Oh, and by the way, I will never say grape when I mean. Yeah, because you don't dilute some crimes. Hello to Samuel Proctor. Hello, Dark Admiral. Just a little heads up. We are broadcasting to the I Love Comics channel as well as the Disney channel. Kind of trying to reboot that thing. I've kind of let it die, and now it's time to clear. Yeah. And if it takes talking about this kind of stuff, well, we will. So anyway, I thought it would be fun, or at least it would be a topic to talk about us going through, talk about what they have in mind as far as this is not racist BS. I'm telling you, it's racist BS. And of course, with me, Dalton, the Authenticator.
Hello and good evening, everyone.
Let's check out these rules. We're going to go section to section here. The first one, this is standard A, on-screen representation. At least 3 of the following 5 areas need to be met to fulfill standard A. So if you're making a movie, you got to have at least 3 of these. Characters, 50% or more of regular and reoccurring written characters come from underrepresented groups. Remember, anytime you hear underrepresented groups, that means not white.
Well, it means white guilt. The group we're guilty about how we treated them in the past. Basically, that's basically what that means.
No, not how we treated them. Maybe how they treat them. Don't let them project any shit on you. If you didn't treat people bad, boom. I'm sorry, but I am not ancestors. I am me, and I think these people, they're so full of crap, and they are so racist because they look down on anybody who isn't white to the point where they say, I am here and I will save you.
The generational guilt thing is also, am I the only one that's noticed this? Despite all this talk about, the marginalized and the etc. and the DEI and the ESG, they would still rather import a bunch of immigrants to do unskilled labor than ever deal with their own working class countrymen.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're that much classist snobs.
It also says actors or 50% more or regular and recurring actors come from underrepresented groups. And this is how you're getting, oh, well, this is set in 5th century England. Everybody's black. No.
Isn't merit the most underrepresented of all minorities? Surely
these days, yeah, look, it's very much like that. Mandatory racism. So that mean we can admit that Mexican restaurants don't make tacos as good as actual Mexicans? Well, I definitely agree with that. I lived in Texas, and we had a Mexican family who lived in the apartment next to us, and we stayed there until my mom and dad came home from work. Holy Toledo. You got to go to mom and pops to find a good Mexican restaurant. You're not going to find it under like Azteca or whatever it's called. All right.
Well, I mean, it's true of any kind of diner experience or like home cooking experience. You're better off with the mom and pops.
No, I'm not saying they can't, and I'm not saying non-Mexicans can't open a Mexican restaurant or any ethnic. It's just I tend to like the mom and pop shops. All right, so A3 says secondary character, meaningful inclusion of underrepresented groups, once again, not white, as secondary or more minor on-screen individuals, including background actors. But the thing is, look, here's you can actually get around a lot of discrimination laws by claiming instead of employees, you're hiring actors. Because you need them to fill a specific role. But the problem is if you need to fill a specific role and it isn't a black person, it isn't a Latino person or an Asian person, and in fact is white, then you're not representing. I have said this so many times on I Love Comics when we're talking about comic books and such like that. It is not, if you are bringing in, if you're just slapping a black face on a white character, that's not representation. It's presentation. It's like, hey, look, we've got black people. That's it.
And the same is true of the non-racial categories as well. The sexuality categories, the ableist category, etc.
If you want representation, make the characters whatever you want to represent. So A5 says episodic storytelling, ongoing, meaningful integration of underrepresented groups and episodic themes and narratives. I don't even know what they're talking about. It's just saying, hey, look, they could have done this in one setting. Hey, 50% of everything has to be not white male, as it's being pointed out.
And not heterosexual or traditionally able, etc.
You can't have straight white male. You have to have 50% of some. Now, look, it doesn't bother. See, and this is one thing that truly kind of grinds my gears when it comes to this whole thing. We'll say, wait a second. No, don't. We'll say something like, don't hire, just based on race. Hire the best. And these people go, oh, you're racist. No, I'm sorry, racist mother. Hold on, let me finish because I am talking. I'm sorry, dude. But if we say hire the best and you don't hear that includes people who are not white males, then you're the racist. You're the sexist.
The problem is in your own head, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's
it's
another.
The same thing when you would say, when people would go, Black Lives Matter, and you'd say, well, all lives matter. And they would get all mad because they don't hear black when they say all lives.
They hear it as a refutation rather than an addition. But yeah, the thing that baffles me here is if you want to tell quote unquote marginalized or multicultural stories, why don't you adapt some stories from those cultures? Adapt the Aesop fables, adapt the Anazi stories, etc., and so on. If you really must have every movie look like the cast of Black frickin' Panther, then there are stories from Africa, from what used to be called, the Orient, India, China, etc. There are stories from those cultures that you could very easily adapt, and those casts would be majoritarily whatever race you wanted, and you wouldn't have to be discriminatory. But it's not enough to simply adapt the stories that already belong, quote unquote, to those cultures. You have to gift those cultures stories that aren't usually traditionally theirs, quote unquote.
Let me see what these guys are saying here. As a Texan, England team knows exactly where I'm coming from. So, oh, okay. Mandatory racism. So does that mean we can admit? Okay. Yep. To do Jay Lucian just identify as black. That's it. Yeah. Actually, every time, like, you can identify as a woman if you're a man if a woman. But people always go, but no, because you can't identify
racial categories of
race. And I believe the only reason why they're saying that is that they think they're going to get their asses kicked.
Or that Rachel Dolezal already tried it and she failed horribly.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right, let's move to the next one here, to the second level. Standard B, creative leadership. At least 3 of these following 6 areas need to be met to fulfill Standard B. So one is 50% or more of producers above. Basically, it's going to be staff, right? Above on writing staff, and 50% or more of co-producer and below of writing staff come from underrepresented, not white people, not white guys, white straight males. So right off the bat, they're telling you straight up all throughout that it is actually okay to underrepresent one group. Straight up. I mean,
the one we've defined as quote unquote normal. Yeah.
What's that guy's name that's running the freaking critical race theory? He's dumb as that Abram guy who said that the only way to deal with past racism is to be racist today. I'm sorry, if you actually believe the way to deal with racism is to be racist, you're a dumbass. You are a, I mean, do not pass go, do not collect $200. As a matter of fact, pay. You're a dumbass. You're legitimately a dumbass. I mean, like, some people, like, I don't know, I think he might be a dumbass. No, if you actually believe that the way to handle racism is to be a racist, you're a fucking dumbass.
But that's the little canard at the heart of all of this. They won't be happy with just straight egalitarianism. They won't actually be happy with equality of opportunity or even equality of outcome. Right. They won't be happy until whatever perceived injustice that they feel they have been hard done by has been done to their quote-unquote oppressors in turn, and they flip the tables. They don't want equality. They don't want neutral. They want, I want to flip the script so entirely that the people who were once doing the lashing are now under the lash.
The problem is, of course, is that nobody today is being oppressed. And
well, no, but that's the generational guilt thing again.
Not this generation. Okay, so it says 50% or more of episodic directors come from underrepresented groups, casting directors from underrepresented groups, or has not previously worked on a DGE show in this role. I have no idea what DGE. Meaningful representation of underrepresented group in senior creative leadership. Promotion of a member of an underrepresented group into a role that constitutes career progression for at least one member of writing staff, and substantial year-over-year increases in members of under. So not only are you supposed to hire 50%, not based on race, by the way, none of this is based on merit. And this is what Charlie Kirk got in trouble for, because he says, well, now I'm going to question, you know, if I see a black pilot, do I know that he's there because he's the best for the role? Or do or is he there because they just needed to fulfill a quota? That was what he was saying. But the thing is had you just hired, if you didn't announce this shit, if you just hired people, it would be assumed that you thought that they were best for the role. But they're straight up saying, no, we're not hiring these people because they're the best for the role. Some of these people are hired because we've got to fill out this list. And, you know, we've got 3 white guys up here. Oh, I'm sorry. We got 3 white guys down here, and above them, we have to fill out others. So,
well, we've
some of them may be students.
In the hoary halls of academia, these people actually believe that focusing on merit would be Western chauvinism, because apparently, according to them, Western society came up with the concept of merit as we currently have it. And therefore, we have to exorcise the demon of meritocracy from every institution to once again repair the wounds of yesterday by inflicting wounds today.
So Spiffy is saying Authenticator is gay, right? I'm actually curious whether he's been called a homophobe by someone who knew he was gay.
I
Have you been?
and
Yeah.
yeah, I have, and more to the point, and relating to something that Jay Lucian jokingly pointed out down there. I get yelled at for being bisexual because, in the modern parlance of quote unquote LGBT, it's actually seen as oppressive or internalized oppression that bisexuals do have different beauty standards for different genders, as opposed to being pansexual, which is you don't discriminate based on any beauty standards whatsoever. You just like people indiscriminately, I suppose, or can
Okay.
like people indiscriminately.
All right. Moving on here.
Yeah.
We're going to number B or C, which is standard C below the line. At least 2 of the following 5 areas. Okay. 50% or more of the line producers and production department have to be not white, male, or straight. 50% or more of other key roles cannot be white or male, or and not all these things together. 50% more of the overall crew or project staff comes from in the hiring line audition project. And that's what this whole thing is. It's basically saying, hey, look, you absolutely cannot hire people you can't hire a certain amount of white straight males. You have to make sure that these people are taken care of because, well, you know, we are the white saviors. That's what they're saying. Disney
It's just today's generation noble savage nonsense, basically.
Yeah. Industry access and career development. First job for members of underrepresented group in a role that constitutes career progression from prior training. Training opportunities and or skill development, craft and creative business, including one-off work experiences.
So, correct me if I'm misreading that. That means that not only do you have to keep hiring these people on diversity hire credentials to roles that they're not qualified to begin with, but you actually have to make them fail upward. So it's not even you keep them at whatever level you bring them in at. It's you're required to let them and or encourage them to fail upward as much as possible.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. Producer development executive is a show specific D&I program subject to network appeal. This is why Disney's crashing, because they're not giving a shit about, are we actually hiring people because they're good? They're only hiring people, or I can't say only, but they've got in their freaking bylaws here that you have to make sure that there's enough people. And once again, it's been proven, by the way, when they lowered the standards for minorities into the colleges, those minorities who had benefit from the lower standards end up crashing out because they can't do it. They can't keep up. And that's not a knock. That's not a knock on entire races. It's a knock on the fact that you're letting C students into A colleges. But there's some fine print right here. Oh, go on ahead.
Oh God. And as a result, the overall intelligence of people who graduate from colleges or who hold positions in colleges is going down.
Oh,
recent studies have shown that it's an entire institution of midwits. God dang it.
Did you see that one video of the guy who asked the college students what's 15 times 4? And not one of them. They all said, yeah, 48. Oh. All right, this is the fine print. It says context critical when evaluating a group. If a group is underrepresented, anyone involved in hiring decisions is prohibited from asking candidates and talent about their actual or perceived race, religion, or color, orientation, gender identity, military or veteran status, age, disability, or any legal. Okay, so think about what that just says right here. You're not allowed to ask a person's race. You're not allowed to ask a person for those qualities of which they just said they were supposed to hire you from. Seriously. So straight up, you could go, okay, I'm a black guy. Well, you don't look like, oh, you're not allowed to ask. So that's the most ridiculous statement of any of them, is this right here. Anyone involved in hiring decisions is prohibited from asking candidates and talents about their actual perceived race, religion, color, orientation, gender identity. I like the fact that they separated gender and gender identity. I am a man.
Well,
I identify as a woman. So what the does that mean? Military or veterans? I mean, like, you're not allowed to ask on the exact they're freaking saying they got to hire on.
So, out of one side of their face, you must hire on identity, and meritocracy is the devil. Out of the other side of their face, don't you dare ask people about their identity, lest that be offensive. Therefore, we literally are going based on we're literally going based on their resume and or how devoted are they to the ideology, because that is the real qualifier here, because it doesn't matter. And you know, I am one example, Mr. E and Corrupt and JSG are all sorts of other examples. It doesn't matter how diverse your identity actually is if you don't align with the ideology of social justice, with the critical theory nonsense that came out of the Frankfurt School, and etc.
Yeah, I think that's more to do with it. If you can say you're black, but if you're not a black leftist, then yeah, you're not.
If you're not capital B black, then yeah.
Spiffy says, question still stands. My sister, who's bisexual, got in trouble for saying, well, that's gay, to one of her friends who also happened to be gay. I don't even understand. Tell them to shut the fuck up.
They will do that. They will, and this is the other thing relating to what I just said. If you are of the necessary diversity credentials or necessary identity credentials, but you don't align with the ideology, you will be accused of effectively having Stockholm syndrome and being cynically turned against your own kind of brainwashed. That's what internalized hatred or internalized oppression or internalized homophobia / racism means. It means you don't submit to the ideology we think you should have based on your identity, therefore you have Stockholm syndrome and have been turned against your own kind and have internalized the other identity. Yeah.
Jay is saying being non-straight is stupid complicated. Seriously. A minority who could have done great as a decent community college proceeds to fail because they put them in hard. Exactly. And once again, I got to tell you, I wouldn't survive. I wouldn't have survived if I had gone to a college like Harvard. I don't have that kind of discipline. I can't sit still that much. Plus, I question way too much.
You do find now, Angwantine, because apparently even the president of Harvard is a plagiarizing son of a you-know-what that
I can just take other people's ideas.
Do
so long as I wore a T-shirt that said "White Man Bad," I could rule the world according to these people. But it just gets more and more ridiculous. And once again, I'm going to say it again: if you are hiring people based on race and not merit. And that's not to say, because I know dumbass leftists will always in dumbass. And even if you think they're smart leftists, eventually they go to dumbass. We had a friend who we used to talk to quite a bit who seems to have veered off to the left so far, ran himself into a fucking lake. But if you have someone that you are hiring based on race, not merit, that is not representation. That's presentation. That's it. You're saying, hey, we've got black people. See, we're not racist because we've got black people. At the same time, you're telling anybody who says, well, I'm not racist, I got a black friend, that they're racist for saying they've got a black friend, but you're doing the same fucking thing, you freaking moron.
Yeah, it's literally we have tokenism, but our tokens believe the right things, don't you know, therefore.
Oy vey. Let's see what we got here. Watson, I think we found the problem. Good night, everybody. That's typical HR thinking for the last decade. And since Me Too, it got worse.
Correct.
Yeah. Believe all women. I will when I see the evidence. Hey, look, here's how I take believe all women. If somebody says, if a woman says, well, I was physically assaulted, believe her enough to check the evidence. But don't convict the guy without the evidence. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, very fortunately, we do live in an evidence-based justice system, where it should be. You should have all, because you don't want anyone to be able to convict you. So many people are so quick and easy to throw this freaking net. Oh, well, they should make a law about this. They should get these people because, oh, I read on Twitter they did it. No, without the evidence, you don't want them to convict, because they could do it to you, and people don't think about that. People don't turn that shit inward, and we've seen it way too many times.
Another thing they go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Another aspect of this is, what does believe all women functionally mean? It means that women are by default assumed to be more morally pure than men, because not a single bugger ever says believe all men. No one would ever say that, but they do say it with women. You want to know why? Because for some reason, these people's brains are still locked back in the Stone Age, where woman equals pure equals she could never be wrong or do anything wrong or even be mistaken, apparently.
But one thing I absolutely believe is that, yes, if somebody comes up and they say, you definitely have to look at the evidence. Tim Rose is saying employees are treated like slaves. Tim, you'll work at Disney? I did my time. I did my time, and I think it was 1987, 1988. I was not a good employee for Disney. I was a horn dog at Disney. I had a world map, and it was like folded in my it was folded in my drawer for the longest time. I got a job at Disney, and I started putting pins in the countries I was able to get with a woman from. Yeah, did very well, surprisingly well, in the Middle East. Actually, no, I'm just kidding about that. But I did find out, man, Canada I can't do. There was hair on the back. Yeah, but no. Anywho, yeah, I did my time. I worked at the Tree House. I worked at the Tiki Room, and I worked at Jungle Cruise. And Jungle Cruise did me in because I went off book. All right, let's see. Women are always right, says women. Gee, when does that ever happen? They accused a guy in an office of the company I worked on. He was a great guy, Fisher, very shy, but guess if he is more conservative and an evangelical, he now works with a church and DEI. Yeah, that's just not good. That's just not, yeah, I don't believe in that kind of thing. Tim, if you worked at the parks, where did you work? What did you do? Nowadays, when I worked there, Michael Eisner just started. And he was the one that said that you could hire a monkey to do the employees' jobs. That went over very well. Excuse me. We loved him. Actually, I liked him because he really did fix Disney. And so I was like, you know, the guy's doing well for the company. He's a shithead, and, you know, and he says bad things. Kind of like he's the Trump of yeah, he's the Trump of Disney. He said crap things all the while he was doing the right things. Yeah. MK is saying, speaking of Disney, did you hear Musk wants to buy them? Okay, hold on. I want to see receipts on this, because I saw a Twitter thread. They're talking about the, I guess, another topic we can talk about. Gina Carano has decided to take Elon Musk up on his offer. Elon Musk offered to sue Disney on behalf of whomever thinks that they were wronged by Disney with all this DEI, with all the woke crap and all that kind of stuff. And Gina took him up on it. She said, yeah, I was. I do have saved out, just in case we talked about this, the original tweet. And then I've saved out the Lucasfilm thread, because you've got people talking on both sides of the issue on the Lucasfilm. In one thread that I read, somebody says to Elon Musk, Elon, can you buy Disney and fix it? And he put the little thinking thing, emotion, what do you call it, emoticon?
Yeah.
That's as far as I've seen it. That is as far as I've seen anything having to do with him buying Disney. Now, would I like him to? I don't know. as far as getting rid of the woke crap, yes. But, well, you know what? Why not? Let them buy Disney, because it's not like it's in the Disney hands anyway. You know how hard Roy, I believe it was Roy Disney fought to keep that company in the family rather than just spread it out to everything and take it out of the hands of people who wanted to create more than just make money. They were in the job. They were in there to make money. Don't make a mistake. But the Disneys believe the best way to make money is to make great entertainment. And somewhere between, in the last 20 years, it went from we make money by making great entertainment then to we just make money. Uh-oh, we lost Dalton. Here he is.
What
and
now?
Yeah, it's gotten so freaking horrible. And it really started going downhill with Bob Iger. I know Bob Chapek I gave him a lot of crap, but when I started thinking, thanks to what are the fish people? What's that? That website, they do videos about Disney all the time.
Clownfish TV.
Clownfish, yeah. They were like, well, if you think about it, all of this started under Bob Iger, and it's like, wait a second, you're right. Bob Iger really did set Disney on the wrong path from the very beginning. And they did it like, if you went to the theme park, excuse me for ranting here, Dalton. If you went to the theme parks, it would be like, oh my gosh, look, everybody loves going over here when they watch the parade. Let's charge them. Mm-hmm. Everybody likes to sit here for the fireworks. Let's throw some cupcakes at them. And now it's $80 to sit here, and they get some cupcakes.
The lawyer from Jurassic Park mentality.
Yeah.
I know I keep making the joke, but he has yet to prove me wrong.
If you went for the nighttime fireworks at Epcot, you would line up sometimes hours ahead just so you got that great spot in Italy. And then they started roping it up, and now, or the great spot in right between Canada and France, and they roped that off. Now, if you buy a dining plan, you can go there. Same thing with the concerts. Oh, the concerts, man, we would line up for hours, and just to get that front seat. But now, in order to get let in first, you have to buy a dining plan, which means you buy dinner at one of their restaurants, then you get that. They monetized every bit of joy anybody could ever feel at Disney, basically.
And
okay,
see,
that's my rant on that.
Yeah, I don't think Elon would do that. In fact, if
me neither.
Elon got Disney so that it was profitable, I could easily see him offering to put, members of the Disney actual family back on some level of being in charge. Because Elon is obviously about money and all that business, but of all the potential, dominating oligarchs we could have, if we got a vote about which oligarch we want to take over the world, I would trust Elon to do it because he knows how meme culture works. He knows how the internet works. He knows how the average person thinks. And he's, at least for the most part, relatively libertarian, small L libertarian about most things that I've ever seen him talk about.
But
so,
I'm interested. I want to find out where the Gina Carano thing goes. This is the, since I shared it, or at least I saved it, I believe this is the original tweet that got her fired. Says Jews were beaten in the streets, not by Nazi soldiers, but by their neighbors, even by children, because the history is edited. Most people today don't realize that to get to the point where Nazi soldiers could easily round up thousands of Jews, the government first made their own neighbors hate them simply for being Jews. How is that any different from hating someone for their political views? And we've seen that. We've actually seen it happen. Right now,
obviously correct.
Biden has flat out tried to turn half the public, half the Republic, I should say, into villains. Mm-hmm. If you're a Republican, you're the worst. You're the enemy of the state. So we do see that.
I mean, Hillary started it first. She called us deplorables, or she called
that's true.
anyone who doesn't like the way she does things deplorables by default.
Tim said, I never worked there, but I was looking into getting a job there. Heard nothing good about working there. Nowadays, it's just mean. I've noticed a lot of the employees decided to get rid of guest service altogether. Universal. I worked at Universal for 15 years. and it was a lot more fun. It's still got its troubles, but it was just a lot more fun. It was a lot more relaxed. I don't know about now. I worked there before woke. So
yeah, I agree, Spiffy. He probably would put the Disneys back on the board. Because here's the other thing about Elon. He doesn't like doing a lot himself because he's an idea guy. He wants to be the next Nikola Tesla. So he will do the bare minimum to get things moving in the right direction, and then he will subcontract it out to someone else. He'll delegate it to someone else, and then he'll be off on his next big idea. And I could see him doing that with Disney, and more importantly, knowing full well the history of Disney, I could see him being like, "Oi, Family Disney, you want the job back?" And then going off and doing whatever crazy other Elon thing he wanted to do that day.
None of us Republicans believe we're the baddies. I honestly don't. And here's the main reason. Most conservatives, obviously there are always exceptions to every rule. Most conservatives believe in the Constitution. We believe in the fact that it's all about self-governance, which means we believe leaving enough well enough alone. If you are not affecting me, okay, do your thing. You know, if you're putting on a shitty TV show, I don't have to watch. If you're yelling in the street, I don't have to listen. That doesn't mean I have to shut you down. It just means I don't listen. You know, sure, there's got to be some laws. If you're affecting everybody else, if you're affecting me, if you're affecting Dalton or so forth and so on, there has to be a law saying, hey, look, you're not allowed to bother. You're not allowed to hurt or to interfere. But that's the way most conservatives think. That's why a lot of times you'll hear a leftist, that TV show did not cancel it. You know, okay, but why? You know, why not just turn the fucker off? You know, I'm doing knobs because that's how old I am. TVs have knobs.
I still miss the days when TVs had a back and weren't just basically flat things. But, you know.
But the thing is, that's generally how conservatives think. Yeah, if I don't like you, I just don't pay attention to you. While Democrats and leftists mostly think, and once again, mostly, there's always exceptions to the rule, think that if I don't like you, you have to go. You cannot be on any platform whatsoever. You cannot have a voice. You can't be here. I don't agree with you. Bye-bye now. Have a good day. Get out.
It's the fundamental difference between cancel culture and boycotting, because you'll hear a lot of people equivocating boycotts with cancel culture, or they'll say things like it's that side's cancel culture. And here's the main difference. The main difference between boycotting and cancel culture is boycott says, I don't want to buy that. Cancel culture says you should not be permitted to purchase that or have the option to purchase that.
Spiffy is saying we bash Biden too much, that he was, in fact, the most popular president of all time, and his grandfather, his dead grandfather, voted for him twice. So there is that. Biden is incredibly popular with the dead because he himself is the walking dead. He represents
he looks like the Crypt Keeper, and I'm pretty sure the Crypt Keeper had more personality to him than Biden.
Yeah. Cartoon says, move the needle. That was your thinking before the grift. Basically, yes. Let's, show the companies that you are the person who is giving up the money for their product and such. I spoke about this one night. Eric was here, and I kind of agree with him. I don't think that would work these days. I would love to do it. I would love for this to be a thing. But one, it would mean I would have to buy new comic books. And two is more like, I honestly don't think they would listen. I think it's been said before, but I truly do believe they would rather burn the store to the ground than to have me as a customer.
Well, and that's the thing. For them, or I guess a lot of them, I should say, it is an ideological preoccupation, and one of the axioms of that ideological preoccupation is a hatred for capitalism. The only reason they're taking up these positions in companies or these positions in corporations is because they essentially want to use capitalism's own power to destroy itself. They want to pull a Mr. Incredible at the end of The Incredibles. The only thing strong enough to penetrate it is itself. That's the only reason they want corporate power, is because they think they can use it to torch the thing from within, basically. They don't want to make money because they think capitalism is bad. So they'll use whatever force capitalism has to destroy it from within, basically.
Yeah. So good luck to, by the way, good luck to Gina. I hope they win. I don't know. It's just a weird situation. We have, I did save this so we can show Gene Gentry, whom has been on this channel and I consider her a friend of the channel, says, I have no idea if Gina Carano will win her lawsuit against Disney and Lucasfilm. I think the case will likely end in a settlement. This should be required viewing for all businesses. Don't fire someone in public manner because you don't agree with their social media presence. The problem is did they fire her or did they give her a set of rules that she had to follow and she didn't? Gina Carano is suing Disney for discrimination and wrongful termination. She's seeking out a court order that would force Lucasfilm to recast her. Elon Musk is paying her bills. Yes, he offered. There you go. Of course, Clownfish is going to step in. Clownfish are the big dogs when it comes to talking about problems with Disney. I'm a fan of their channel.
Well, them and Midnight's Edge, I think, are the two biggest ones that are like our side adjacent that cover it a lot.
Okay, I'm going to go on a little rant here based on this one. This guy, and by the way, I don't have to tell you, you're freaking adults. I'm not controlling you, but you'd be a dumbass to go after anybody anyway. This guy's saying, casual reminder that Gina was given the opportunity multiple times to retract her hateful statement. See, and there you go. That's the big problem.
You're presupposing that it was hateful to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't a hateful
presupposing that your
statement.
framework is right and that she must repent.
I would be willing to bet real money that this guy never actually saw the statement. He just heard from somebody who he heard from who heard this and that. And then just said,
did you see the clip of the kid
it's the same thing with us being called racist.
Yeah.
Nothing was said that was ever when we were doing the comics gate. Nothing was said that was racist. But those people yelled racist, 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 racist enough to the point where people who don't know what's going on think that even OGCG were racist. And do you know what I was mainly called racist for? Ironheart should have her own magazine. She shouldn't be in Iron Man. People go to read Iron Man and they see Ironheart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a racist.
Give the character her own identity, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently forbidden.
The only thing strong enough to penetrate itself, it is itself. Okay.
Yeah, I caught the gay joke. Thank you. You all know what I was referencing, though. The scene from The Incredibles with the giant robot there.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Look, yeah, and that's one of the biggest things going on. We have people who fucking lie. They don't want to actually discuss things with you, and this is mostly on the left. Once again, had a friend. I would talk to him all the time. I trusted, I respect. Now it's just pot shots instead of conversation. I don't know.
Talking about JSG?
Like, yeah. By the way, Green Lantern's going to piss off all the right people. Who's the right people? Who's the right people to piss off, by the way? I took it because I do break down and joke, and we both do, by the way. So who's the right people? Is it the conservative Trump supporter, or is it the leftist gay Bernie bro? Who's the right people that book is pissing off? Seriously.
Well, okay, here's the thing with JSG. He still somehow thinks that it's not the Trumpists that are in charge of the right wing. He still thinks it's the Tradcons. And you know, I'm always afraid that the Tradcons are going to make a comeback every time Matt Walsh calls anime satanic, or or Gavin McGinnis goes on a rant about how you should be building tables, not reading fiction, blah, blah, blah. Like, I worry about the Tradcons making a comeback. I genuinely do. But they haven't, and they're not. You know as well as I do, Jay, and if he ever sees this, which I doubt, but you know as well as I do, Jay, that the people who the establishment hates right here and now are the populist libertarian right, not the moralistic authoritarian right.
Are you willing to argue the fact that they destroyed the character of Alan Grant in order to tell a story that wasn't his? Instead, they put in their own.
Alan Scott,
Tim Sheridan puts his own. Yeah, he puts his own story in instead. You know, adding his stuff to Alan Scott. That's the argument. That's the argument. I also have an argument, by the way, when it comes to a lot of leftist writers. No matter whom they're writing, so long as they're not straight white males, they only have one story. Black people only have the struggle. There's rarely anything beyond that. Well, gay people, it's always the struggle. It's not just normal stories. It's always the struggle. They only have one story.
Sorry, go ahead. It's because these people simply don't have a wide enough sphere of understanding. They don't have formative life experiences to draw upon. They don't have erudition or intellectualism to draw upon. They never researched anything outside of, you know, the critical theory Frankfurt School nonsense they were taught in college. They don't people watch, so they don't understand human behavior in an actual IRL context, and they never engage with ideas outside of that Frankfurt School critical theory bubble because they have presupposed that their framework is the correct framework, and therefore everyone else is just the devil. Either they're actively the devil and they're being manipulative, or they're too stupid to realize that they're the devil, and therefore we shouldn't care about them anymore. It's how these people think, and it's
saying it's all about the mantras. Excuse me, for them, it's a weird pseudo religion. Yes, it seems that way too, doesn't it? At least that
it is an ideology, and
pot shots are not gummies. I don't know. How about says Maranui? How about we just not piss off anybody? Sounds good. How about
I mean, yes, that is also an option.
That goddamn character. You do the research. You write the character. If you want to write a new character, write a new character. Once again, actual do representation instead of presentation. Yeah, I was sad about that. JSG went off the rails after the stream with Rakita. I never saw that. See, to me, I thought we were good. I sent him a couple of messages. Hey, come on. And after a while, I get the message. You know, I'm not going to sit there and beg for 3 years. I just kept on sending messages. Hey, come on and live stream. Come on and live stream. He never even
what did it. The issue that did it was the "Don't Say Gay" bill. He saw the mimetic title of the "Don't Say Gay" bill, and immediately went, "Oh, it's the TradCons making a comeback." Blah blah blah. DeSantis is just trying to counter indoctrinate. That seems to be the main issue he had.
What about all the straight teachers that aren't allowed to talk about their own sexuality or to try to tell a student that their sexuality is not what they think it is? It doesn't. How
about sexuality should only be in sex ed classes? How about that?
Oh, and by the way, you're also only talking about 5 to 8 year olds. So wait
until they're 15 and in sex ed if you're going to talk about anything.
They totally miss an entire freaking section of that when they start talking about that. Hello to Dominic Powell. What's up? There you go. I don't know, man. I miss my friend. I do. You know, I consider Jay a friend. I have seen the hits and everything. I don't think he's directly, you know, I might have made it sound like I don't think he's directly going.
I did a couple of straight up video responses to the dude when he and Romanian TV went at it. And I don't know if he even noticed them, but yeah, I did a couple straight up video responses to him back in the day. And
I don't know what happened. I know that I had some issue related to it. I had walked away from everything when all the infighting started. I get it. That's when everything falls apart. Comicsgate fell apart when that happened. And
Gamergate was the same way. Occupy was the same way before that, etc.
When you're done with the enemy at hand, you start turning on each other, or even the ways that
we're just supposed to be going
after this. It happens. In our case, we invited our own destruction, in all honesty, as far as a consumer revolt. And that was in the form of Ethan Van Sciver. He at some point just started calling himself the King of Comicsgate, King of Comicsgate, King of Comicsgate. And then people believed it. And after a while, it stopped being about the buyer and it started being about the seller. It completely went the other direction. Nobody, the fact
instead of
that
let's fix the industry, it became let's build the shadow industry.
The amazing thing is that he did more to end Comicsgate than any of the woke SJW types ever could. But I will say this, and I'm going to give him credit for this. Well, I'm going to give Richard a hell of a lot of credit, and then I'm going to give EVS credit for
the
jumping
crumbs
on
of credit that he deserves. Yeah.
No, it's not a crumb. Now Richard was a little bit different than everybody, be it Ethan or Ripa, who did exactly what I said was they were going to do. When we had that big debate, I said, what you're going to get is a lot of people who come in saying, I'm for the fight, I'm for the struggle, I'm for the battle. Let's get those SJWs. And then they're going to get their money and go. And so far, so many freaking people have done that. So many people have done that, including Ripa. So, but the thing is Richard was 100% honest. I am building an audience because I've always wanted to make comic books. Absolutely right out front about it. So I don't blame him. But what he did was, when his campaign was successful, he showed other people it could be done. When EVS was successful and EVS took Comicsgate and he blew it up, he was able to make so many other people successful as well. And what he did when he did that, and I swear to God, for whatever animosity is or is not between me and EVS, 100% he did something that we OGCG couldn't do, is he moved the culture forward. He moved the idea forward. That, like you said, it was created a shadow industry of sorts. The Kickstarter, the Indiegogos. I'm not saying they invented going to Kickstarter. They didn't. But it's like they just did it better. They did it brighter. They did it louder. And from that, you get... They
made a brand of it, basically.
Yeah. And from that, even though you might say EVS didn't do it as well because it took him so long to get his books out, it was introduced people who did, like Iconic Comics. You know, as much as I don't know if they would accept this, but because the spotlight was shown, they had an audience already built in. And now you could say it started with us. We're the seeds. But this whole thing, even when we were growing, when we were just a consumer revolution that got EVS in, which kind of blew it up into this CG Inc., you got to admit things have moved forward from that. And a lot of that does lay in at the feet of Richard Meyer, Ethan Van Sciver. And you know what? I'm going to put Tim Lim in there as well, because they showed everybody how to do it right. So there you go. That's my little rant on that. Let's see. Walt and Roy are spinning in their graves along the old guard of Disney. I am absolutely sure. Like I said, one of the greatest things, by the way, I loved Roy Disney. I got books and books on Walt Disney. One of my favorite is a book where other people are talking about Walt Disney. And one of the quotes that I always liked was Roy mentioned, I loved my brother. I was irritated by my brother because he wouldn't ask me, hey, can we do this? He would say, we are doing this. Now go find the money. Roy was the guy who found the money. So he was like, we're going to build a park in Orlando. Find the money, you know, and he just gets to work building it. And Roy has to find the finances, which I would think it's freaking Disney. After a while, it'd be like, hi, we're Disney. We need money. Okay, here you go. Take it. I'll have 10%, you know.
But somebody has to ground the lightning of Walt's dreams and make them into something that is tangible. So
Walt was very much what can we do or how can we do it?
The idea guy.
So of course, when you want to make a when you want to make Fantasia, they come up with that multiplane camera in order to put different layers of animation on it to give it more of a 3D look. And that was invented by them. And that was the kind of thing that Walt Disney came. One of the reasons why the Disney 70s is called the Dark Ages is because they kept asking themselves, well, what would Walt do? What would Walt do? And they kept thinking of what he would have done in the 60s. It was actually Kurt Russell who was asked that one time. He goes, well, that's a problem. He would have found out what's next, and he would have done that. He would have figured out a way to do that.
He would have seen ahead.
Yeah. Which,
again, speaking of that dichotomy, the idea guy versus the on the ground guy, that says to me that Elon might be a very good choice to take over Disney if he does decide to buy it, because Elon is an idea guy, but he's also an idea guy who knows how to find the business guy, the on the ground guy, and then leave the business guy in charge and only come in to stir the idea pot when he needs to. So maybe Elon would be a good or a good person to take over Disney, because he can, one, be the idea guy that Disney needs, and two, find the people who can act as the Roys when he's done being the idea guy for a bit.
Dark Admiral is saying, yeah, we pulled a full-on Ray stance despite picturing myself more of a Winston, despite the obvious physical differences. I'm not quite sure where that comes from.
I'm pretty sure they were having a conversation of their own in the comments.
I'm going to give them credit. Republic credits are no good here. I need something real, says Spiffy. When I had sex ed in school, they showed us how to put a condom on a banana. Then they changed it to finger protectors, the little rubber. I've never experienced one of the. I old school. You want to be a father? No, don't get them pregnant. That was our sex ed. It was very simple. Dominic saying Richard is a comic book writer first, who started off as a fan of sequential art. He's also willing to admit when he's wrong on some issues. Yeah. We all started as seeds going back to sex ed. We've come full circle. Yeah, it's crazy how we are all just seeds in someone's bale sack.
Hey, well, but
the ball sack, man. All righty. I was thinking when I said it, if it was going to come to sperm jokes, I guess it was. Thank you for not disappointing me. But I stand by what I said. Even though it turned out to be a ball joke. It's a Ghostbuster Rebel. We chose the form of our destroyer. Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, but look, did it need to happen? I don't know. I think it would have been better had we combined rather than just kind of separated and all went our separate ways. Strengthen numbers and everything. I don't think what is it? Move the Needle should have ever stopped. It
well, like I said, this pattern has happened several times before we even showed up. It happened to Gamergate. It happened to Occupy before that, and so on. Like it always is a wide tenet first, and then once the different ideologies start to realize that their solutions to the problem aren't the same as other people's solutions to the problem, they segment. The same thing happened also to the Skeptosphere in 2017, and so that's where the actual alt-right came from.
Would actually be good. It wouldn't actually just be good for us. It would be good for the industry. I don't think I could promote it. I don't have the clout that I used to have. But if that has made a comeback, even if we expand it to include everybody, not just people on our side of the whole culture war, but people on the other side, ultimately it would encourage, because especially if you've got the contest going on, it would encourage people to go out and buy new comics. So it would encourage people to go spend money at the comic shops, and maybe even if there's the rivalry, actually help. I could see that happening. Of course, it was meant to show, look, we're not buying your shitty freaking woke books. But if that kind of thing could help, if that kind of thing could encourage people that not just show off what you buy, but maybe encourage them to buy so they can show it off. You know,
unfortunately, I'm not sure to what degree the effectiveness would be, because one of the problems of modern day writers is not just the wokeness. It's the mentality they pick up in art school, the mentality of everything is about themes, everything is about socio-political or moral import. Everything is about this, everything is about that. In-universe logic is silly or stupid. You shouldn't care about characters like they're actual people, etc. And so that kind of stuff comes to them in art school with or without the woke now. And I'm not sure they would ever get the message of, oh, wait, you mean we're supposed to take in-universe logic and in-universe characterization seriously? That's so childish and silly, says the art school, the art house snob.
I don't know. I'll have to ask VENKMAN MK about how they pick the movies that they're putting against each other. Ghostbusters versus Terminator. They're not the same sport. So you're putting basically a baseball team against a football team to play what? I don't get it, but okay.
Yeah, Ghostbusters versus Danny Phantom might be a more apt comparison.
Well, it's got to be
both ghost oriented.
And in this case, it would be two 1984 movies. Terminator is awesome. Ghostbusters are awesome, but beyond the fact that they were released in 1984, that's
yeah, they're vastly different things.
The idea guy and on the ground guy balance each other out. If John Lasseter wasn't removed due to false allegations, he would be in control of Disney. Similar to Walt, he would think ahead of the game and more likely think creatively before he thought monetarily.
Well, and that's why I suggest maybe Elon would be a good guy to get, because he's an idea guy who knows he needs a business guy and who knows how to find business guys. So we'd have Elon's crazy, irreverent wackiness, and we'd also have his ability to find people to delegate things to and how to do that.
Now, MK is saying, sadly, I think racism is something that will never go away and always be utilized. And mind you, I have mentioned many, many, many times we beat racism. Racism was gone in the 2000s, right up until Barack Obama got elected president. When he got elected president, racism flooded right back. We elected the first, I guess, race mixed person. People call him black guy. I don't. I've recently read things that made me out of that camp, but we hired him, and he was supposed to be the post-racial president. And he brought racism right the frickin' back. Before that, if you're a racist, you're removed from the sandbox. You can't play well with others. Go, be gone, be gone. Now it's encouraged.
In fairness, the reason why
it was of anti-racism, racism is now encouraged. I'm sorry, go on ahead, Dalton.
Yeah, the reason why it came back during the Obama administration actually doesn't, I don't think, have anything directly to do with Obama. What
Except
it has
the
to
fact
do,
that he would actually say things that would.
But what it has to do with is these theories were already bubbling away, being cooked up in academia, and once Obama got elected, especially the second time, the academics thought, this means we've won the culture war. This means we can move on to the postmodern end of history because we've won, and now history can be unidirectional, right? And then, of course, they spent between 2009 and 2013 getting their inroads into culture and entertainment, and then whoop, Gamergate showed up, and they realized, wait, you mean history isn't Hegelian and unidirectional? You mean we might actually have to still fight these people? Oh, well, clearly they're just the same people we fought yesterday. They must be the same people. We couldn't have changed or sold out at all, could we?
And Tom, I like this. Racism isn't this Thomas Salt. Racism isn't dead, but it's on life support kept there by people who benefit from it. Whoops. Hello, Tim K. Also. What's this one say? That's true. That's true. Try like to American Trump for racism, but Obama clearly hates white people. He always distanced himself from his white grandmother, if I recall. He was raised by white people. But he actually did do one speech where he was like, I made it, now you make it. Now you work hard. You get here. And the Democrats shut that shit down. He only made one he made one inspirational speech. After that, it was all about, well, that guy could have been my son. Well, did you would your son be going to a shop to get stuff to create meth? Let's really think about what you're saying here.
Well, that's the other thing. They always focus so much on the identity categories. They never think of things like class or actual working conditions.
Yep. But one of the most one of the most successful videos on my channel was one of the first ones I made, where it was all about the Hispanic and Black students keeping the white and Asian students from crossing a bridge. They had to go through the woods and over a river to get to their classes. And they were doing that because they were oppressed. I'm like, right now you're freaking oppressing others. So I'm not impressed. I'm sorry. If your tactics, by the way, are to use the tactics of what you think are the bad people, then fuck you. And then they call for segregation. We want our own dorms. We want our own, what do they call it? Deans. We want our own.
It's like I said earlier, they're not happy with neutrality or egalitarianism. They want to straight up invert the thing so that the people they assume are their oppressors are now under their lash. They don't want actual neutrality or equality. We want our turn on the top. The problem isn't that there was a stack. The problem is that we were on the bottom of the stack. So if we just change it around so that we're on top and the people we don't like are on bottom,
that's why the thumbnail is what that's why the thumbnail is what it is with Pete. I did that on purpose. The purpose of the thumbnail, Pete is perceived as the villain. That's supposed to be the conservatives, the Republicans, and he's saying racism is wrong, Mickey. And then Mickey Mouse, being the racists, being the leftists, the people who follow the DEI, is saying, not if I control it. And because I truly believe that's how they feel.
Yeah.
I truly believe that's how they feel. They'll call everybody racist, they'll call everybody the villain, all the while they're okay with doing the things they think are evil, so long as they get to aim that
they get theirs.
Yeah.
They get their own back, allegedly.
Whenever I see racist, I think of that gif with a little kid saying, "Yo, yeah, I love that little black kid." He's like, "That's racist." Yeah. Glenzer, hey, what's up, man? Saying race swapping is tokenism. Tokenism is racist. Hence, Marvel and DC are the real racists. Yeah, I agree. It seems justice and revenge get confused these days, very much so.
They do.
Yeah.
They very much do.
Some colleges are reinstating the SAT and ACT, and yeah, those colleges are being called racist. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but that one video where they can't tell you how much 4 times 15 is, that should say, I'm surprised. I'm actually shocked that people are still sending their kids to these colleges after they burned Berkeley because what was that gay guy? Milo Yiannopoulos was going to speak there. They burned freaking Berkeley. Berkeley should have gone out of business. You got to be a dumb mother to send your kids to Berkeley after seeing that. Yeah, absolutely. I don't get it.
Well, and it's the ideology that's made them this way. It's no coincidence that at one point the most prestigious universities are the ones that have been corrupted by the social justice mind virus the most, because this is what they cooked up in academia in the 60s and have been slowly but surely, introducing bit by bit until, again, Obama got elected. They realized, oh wait, this means we won, right? Let's finally go to our quote unquote true initiative. And then they realized they didn't win because in 2013 things like Gamergate happened, and then all the other fan backlashes happened, and they realized, wait, you mean history isn't a one-directional thing where we win and things go ever more progressive? No. I don't know why you ever thought Hegel was a smart person, but he's never done anything, and no one who's ever believed him has ever done anything but destroy the world over and over and over again. Marx was derivative of Hegel. Engels was derivative of Hegel. Gramsci was derivative of Hegel. When are we going to wake up to the fact that the Hegelian historical dialectic is philosophical cancer and ruins everything it touches?
Yeah, I just saw it. Now I'm looking on it. Comic Vine. Biden's economy is great. America has a booming economy, yet Americans are still hurting for money.
Yeah, who are you going to believe? Our statistics or your lying eyes, apparently?
Yep. Let's see. Reality is folks that making an abundance of money are making even more money. Technically, wages even for the middle class has risen a little, but the impact that the inflation has had on the economy is still something so staggering. Yeah, Biden up, and your dollar isn't worth as much. And that's going to be for a while. I'm bad at math, but I usually use the calculators. Yes, 4 times 15 is in fact 60.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they can't even add 15 and 15 to get 30 and then go, ooh.
Yeah, and then
that.
go 30 plus 30 equals 60, which is the math I literally just did in my head 5 seconds ago.
In hindsight, the corruption from academia in the 60s should have been caught early on. Nonetheless, people are finally waking up to this crap.
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't even end there. It started in the 1890s with people like Michel Foucault, and again the Frankfurt School, which again is derivative of the neo-Hegelians like Gramsci, who are who are married to the historical dialectic pioneered by Hegel. That's why I say the 2 most evil philosophers in human history were Hegel and Jean-Jacques Rousseau. If you could get rid of everything that their ideas touched in Western philosophy, we could go back to an actual reasonable philosophical standard.
Yeah.
But it's been 300 years, and the termites have dined on my beloved humanity so much that I don't think we ever will go back that far.
Dr. Admiral is saying, yeah, it's so great. My wife was working 2 jobs, and I work every bit of OT I can get and hustle on the side as much as possible just to be behind where I was a few years ago, meaning the Trump administration. Everybody was better off under Trump. I can't believe there's some idiots who are believing, oh, no, it was better. Bullshit.
Again,
so, okay, wait, let me, I'm not done. I'm not done. Let me go. Okay. Anytime anybody mentions Biden's better, ask them. So what's your favorite war that started with Biden? Is it the Ukraine? Is it the Iranian? Or is it the civil war that's about to start at the border?
How are your grocery bills?
Yeah. So do you enjoy spending $5 on milk when it was only $2 5 years ago? There's so many questions that you could just ask to end it. I'm sorry. Nobody who is paying attention likes Biden. And a lot of people that I hear say they like Biden are, I will vote Democrat no matter what. One of the funniest things I watch is Bill Maher clips, because he's like, no, Biden's a hell of a lot better than Trump. Although the economy was better. We were in no wars and blah, blah. He lists everything Trump was better at, but I'm still voting for Biden.
Well, because these people believe that the abstract is more important than the physical, and therefore, because Trump is, in their opinion, morally worse, it doesn't matter all of the practical impacts he had.
Yeah, all because, once again, just like they did with us, they told a lie, and then they told it again and told it again and told it again until everybody believed it, including themselves. Just like, I'm sorry if I'm going to piss you guys off. Actually, I'm not. There was no insurrection.
No, it was literally nowhere near as bad as the 6 month on and off summer of George Floydian love that had happened several months before that.
Part of the insurrection in Washington? Was it when the police officer David Dorn was shot in the head over a TV set, or was it when a group of people took over an entire city block and shot people who didn't follow the fucking rules? So what part of that was the worst in that in what you call the insurrection? Because most of that was peaceful, according to you. Yeah.
The only person that actually died was not killed by the protesters. Right. She was killed by the anti-protest
New Jersey
police.
College years back. My friend's wife is white. She's German. Her friend, who's black and Puerto Rican, had lower scores than the German girl. They accepted the black Puerto Rican girl. That was what we were talking about earlier. It's all based on race rather than merit, and that's not to say, of course, that I mentioned this too. If you can't hear black people or brown people, whatever, not white men, when we say merit, that's on you. You're fucking racist. But they put people out because of race, not merit, and people who can't handle it, they fall to the wayside, and it's because they give lower scores. They let C students into A colleges. That's what I said earlier. Anyway, obviously,
and then it's an entire institution full of midwits, as I said earlier.
Yeah. Which is a good time. Let's pull the plug on this. The bird's getting out of control over here, and we're saying the same thing.
We drifted so far off topic.
Yep.
Also,
and just to get back around to what we were talking about, Disney hiring on race is racist. Yeah. But yeah, okay, let's see. Locke and Hobbes were on the pulse in describing humanity. I used to respect Rousseau along with Locke and Hobbes, but as time I fell from Rousseau after high school and junior college. And MK saying, oh, to Dark Admiral, the worst part was when AOC died bravely trying to save the Capitol from millions of mean ideas.
If only.
All righty, kids. Thanks for hanging out. If you came in late, we did do the whole Disney part in the first 15, 20 minutes. Actually, I think it did take about 20 minutes. The bird's going nuts. I'm going to get her out of there. What's going on is my daughter called my wife, and he's hearing everybody talk, and he wants to be a part of it. And I'm not letting him out anymore without a hat.
Little attention, horror bird. Our dogs are the same way though. So
this boy, he sits on the freaking he sits on the headphones and he goes after the little hairs. There's not much hair up there, dude. So I can't have him on my head without a hat. Biden economy is so bad, pistachio might need a name change to peanut shell. Publishers and studios need to hire people based on merit again. You know what I would love to see? Comic conventions that are actually comic conventions where people can bring up their portfolios, you know, where they could say, how long did you take doing this? Here's a small script, go draw this. Here's a drawn page, go write this. Bring it back tomorrow. You know, that kind of thing where you can actually find talent instead of, you know what, this person fits the checkbox.
I wish, speaking of things that need an overhaul, we need to overhaul the art schools again to the point that they can take things like in-universe logic and character consistency seriously instead of going, oh, but my non-diegetic themes and my archetypes and crap.
They brought DC Comics back to the Silver Age. People are so overpowered anymore. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Anywho, once again, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Please check out the Disney Channel. We're going to be putting stuff more on there. It's called Homegrown Tourists. Yes, I changed the name back. And otherwise, please do all the clicking, liking, sharing. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.